Today in the mail I received my Ultimate Ears UE5s. I've literally not even put these on yet, I just opened them. I thought I would make a video showing a first reaction, review. This is my first set of in-ear monitors, and comparison to other options, particularly for drummers, although this could really apply to any sort of musician. The headphones that I'm going to be using solely for sound quality comparison is the Audio-Technica ATH M40X headphones. I've had these headphones for a long time. I really like them. They sound great. Unfortunately, you can't really use these for playing along the drums because they don't really block out the sound that well. But if you do own these headphones, or if you own a similar pair, you can use these. I'm going to try to use these as best I can to compare the sound to the Ultimate Ears UE5s. So generally these are considered to be one of the top pairs of headphones in the price range of $100 or so. So they sound pretty good. I'm hoping the UE5s sound even better. Okay, I'm going to try these on. I have never put on in-ear monitors before in my life. The most I had was, actually getting the impressions, which was somewhat uncomfortable, getting a piece of cotton stuffed so far down into your ear. But I'm confident that this won't be nearly that bad. I've heard that these are actually pretty comfortable once you get used to them. I don't have these hooked up to any audio source yet. I'm just basically going to put them on. So here we go. Never put in in-ear monitors before, so see if I can figure this out. It's probably not going to work too well. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. It actually wasn't as difficult as I expected it to be. I can already tell how much the sound is blocking out of this ear. Go ahead and put this other one in. I've read that you kind of like twist it in, kind of do that. Oh, that was actually quite easy. Okay. If you push it in a little too much, it is a little bit uncomfortable, but just sitting in there by itself, it's totally fine. And wow, this is quite an experience putting these on for the first time. And these cables, I don't know if you can tell here, these cables have this kind of like memory plastic. If you press it down, you can kind of like loop there behind your ears. I can't really hear anything right now. The only thing I can hear is myself talking, but I'm pretty sure I'm just hearing the sound waves traveling through my own, flesh to my inner ears rather than actually coming out this way, because, yeah, I don't really hear anything right now at all. So, yeah, these are actually very comfortable to have on. I've read that the first time you put these on, they sound kind of invasive, but really these are actually pretty comfortable. So now what I'm going to do is plug this in. I already have the first song picked out that I'm going to listen to with these, which is the song Chop Suey by System of a Down. So I'm going to listen to that, and then I will give you my reaction on how these sound. Okay, I've now listened to several songs with the UE5s, and I must say they sound great. They sound pretty much exactly how I expected them to sound. That being that they sound similar to the Audio-Technica ATH M40Xs, but the M40Xs are more of like a reference type of sound, so these sound a little bit more bass heavy, actually a lot more bass heavy, and they have a little bit extra treble as well, which makes perfect sense because since these were designed primarily for drummers, the drummers want to be able to hear that kick drum as well as the cymbals. So it kind of makes sense that the mids aren't quite as prevalent, which is more reserved for your guitars. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go try these out while playing a song on drums, and I'll give my reaction. Okay, I just finished playing along to a few songs on drums with these in-ear monitors, and I gotta say that the difference between these monitors and something like this is night and day for several reasons. First and foremost, probably the biggest reason I noticed right up front is that these can fall off your head pretty easily, as opposed to these aren't going anywhere. You know, once they're in your ear, they're locked in there until you intentionally take them out. Besides that, these cut out the sound of the drums a lot better and a lot more evenly. And what I mean by that is, if you play with a product like this, or if you use just regular earbuds and put something like this over top of them, what I've noticed is that it cuts out the high frequencies pretty well, so you can't really hear the cymbals too well, but it almost like enhances the sound of the bass to the point where you can't really hear anything else over that booming sound of the bass drum. With these in-ear monitors, I found that it kind of just cuts everything pretty evenly across the board. You can still hear the bass drum, but you're hearing more of like the high end of the bass drum, and it actually cuts out a lot of the low end pretty well, which is what you want, because you know, if you're playing along to something like this, it doesn't really cut out the low end of the bass drum too well, and you can't really hear anything else over top of that. In addition, I found that when I actually turned the music on for these in-ear monitors, the volume on my iPod was probably only at about 60 to 70% of the max volume, as opposed to, you know, a product like this where I have to crank it all the way up to 100%, which doing that in itself is probably horrible for your ears. So it's better to have a product where you don't have to crank it up all the way, you know, because that is probably just slowly making your hearing worse and worse if you're cranking up the volume to max. So really, in every aspect, as a drummer, these are way better than any other alternative that I've ever tried. One other thing I forgot to mention about these, something that I was kind of worried about was, hey Paul, was that these are not at all, they don't break the seal like when you bite up or down. Like, one thing I was worried about is that if you put your finger in your ear and bite up and down, you can feel parts inside your ear actually moving. And this is one of the reasons I was considering getting soft silicone monitors instead of like hard acrylic monitors. But I ended up going with hard acrylic after just doing some research, and you know, people kind of ended up saying that whole thing about soft silicone is kind of just a myth. Again, I'm sure some people really prefer them, but you know, when there's parts moving around in and out of your ear, when your mouth is moving up and down, it doesn't really break the seal. So if I can put this in again, there we go. Yeah, I'm talking and it's not breaking at all. Actually, I'll just put the other one in. When I open my mouth all the way like that, I can feel a little, I guess, like a pocket almost in this one ear, but I don't feel it in the other, so I think it's just something specific to my ears, and other people might not even experience this problem at all. But I mean, I'm talking right now, obviously, and I don't hear at all, I don't feel the seal breaking at all. So this is something I was worried about, and this is not really an issue for these monitors. Alright, final thoughts and criticism, I guess you could say, about the UE5s. There's really not much that I can say that I haven't already said about these monitors. As far as criticism goes, it's hard to find anything to complain about with a product as custom as this, you know, fit only in your ears. Any criticism that I could come up with would just be really minor and really not even worth bringing up. So I know these are expensive. The UE5s are currently $600, and you know, models can get much more expensive than that, $1,000 or even more dollars. So I know these are expensive, but I honestly don't think they're overpriced. These are for much more than listening to music. These are for listening to music while also protecting your ears, which is the most important part of your body as a musician. So who would I recommend these to? These specific models? I would definitely recommend these to drummers. Again, the EQ is great for drummers. You got that nice low end that's boosted a little bit, as well as the high end for the cymbals. Me personally, I don't play live shows. I just play drums in my basement currently, anyway. So I probably could have gotten away with the UE4s. I exchanged a few emails with Ultimate Ears to talk to them, to give me a recommendation on what monitor they think would be best for me. They recommended the UE5. They told me that the UE4 might not be good for my purposes, because they said that the UE4 is a little bit of a more quiet monitor, and also it's a little bit more of a flat frequency response as opposed to these, which again are geared toward drummers. But I honestly think I would have been fine with the UE4s. As I said, I really only have to crank my iPod volume up to about 60 to 70%, so these are plenty loud. There's no way I'm ever going to be cranking my iPod all the way up to max with these in. That would probably just literally hurt. It would be so loud. So my point is that if you're just a musician, just as a hobby, but you're not really in a band, I think that the UE4s would be fine, because they get plenty loud, even for playing drums in a small room just along to your iPod or something like that. But on the other hand, I am not at all disappointed with the UE5s. I mean, I could have saved a little bit of money going with the UE4s, but I mean, again, it's hard to be unhappy with this purchase. So the last thing I want to say before I turn off this video is thanks to Ultimate Ears. Their customer support has been great. I've been emailing them back and forth a ton of times, making sure I get the right monitors. I asked them about audiologists, I asked them about a ton of things, and they were always very responsive, sometimes even responding on weekends, which I never expected. So they have a great customer support.